We're going live right now on cameras. By the way, the cameras, every time you can see them on Facebook, they stream live. They are brought to you by our friends at Renegade Truck. And, of course, our very good friends, extra good friends today from Mmmpanada. I'm also just a huge fan. I know everybody in the show is, but I found Empanadas. The truck was down from my house, started eating there. And now they've grown into a full-fledged, well, I guess it's always been a full-fledged business. I don't want to backhand compliment. But they've grown. They've outgrown the truck, and now they're into the world where you can get your own empanadas anytime you go to the store. They're not paying for this ad, so I'm going to make it short. But go get them. I love them. Well, we thought, hey, instead of just eating them on air.
Right, which we would do.
We'd reach out to our friend Tim Flynn and say, hey, let's spice this up a bit. And he's brought us high-end fancy wines. And we are going to do a wine pairing with our Hot Pockets.
What's up? My favorite bit we've ever done.
Oh, I can't say. I meant warm pockets. I heard her like, no, you don't name that.
Empanadas.
I meant
Very
just
different.
our pockets of warmth is all I meant. Yeah, there goes that account.
Yep.
Good morning. Welcome back, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to be back. Happy Friday.
Thank you very much.
Man,
It is
good
a
to
very
see
happy
you.
Friday.
And I hadn't realized that you hadn't met Matt before.
Yeah, I was out on a little break when Flynn was in before.
Right. Yes. You were out on pregnancy, I believe it was?
Yeah, I was. But the baby came out fine. Just had to push a little harder.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I'm looking forward to doing this pairing. This is a new one for me.
Good.
I've never done the empanada thing with wine. So starting out, I believe we have our chicken and hatch chili empanada.
This one's got to be one of my favorites, and then the sauce that they used to make is so incredible.
How do you when you're trying to put wine together for people, right? Because I think a lot of us just know white, they know red, and they're like, all right, red is with steak, white's with fish, and that's like an old rule, and they just leave it at that.
That has
right?
come up before.
And rosé, I don't know what that means.
And they just leave it at that. But when you're trying to mix it with spicy foods, and a lot of us eat Mexican food, Indian food. If you've got a whole lot of spice and flavor, can you match wine with that, or do you go with something else?
Yeah, actually, I know a lot about wine. I know what all these very subtle flavors do to things. So maybe I have a little more insight than the average bear. But generally speaking, if you have something hot and spicy, well, something cool and cold and crisp is probably a good way to go.
Oh, counter it.
Yeah, Beto would have a Budweiser. We're having wine. So you've got chicken. You've got hatch chili. So we've got two white wines. We've got a Sauvignon Blanc. That's your one on the left. And we've got a Chardonnay,
Which
for your
is
one
darker.
on the right.
The Chardonnay's darker.
The Chardonnay's a little bit darker. So these two wines were kind of going polar opposites. On the left, for the Sauvignon Blanc, obviously everything's served ice cold. Real crisp. It's got a little bit of lemon and lime type fruit to it. Super high acid, so it'll cut through any sort of fat on the palate and get right down to those taste buds. The Chardonnay, on the other hand, this is from Sonoma Coast. It's Martin Ray. This is a little bit richer, a little bit bigger, but still should go excellent with the chicken and the chili.
Okay.
And, of course, the only way to find out is dig in.
So we should have a bite of the chili and the chicken and actually try both the wines, is what you're saying.
I would recommend drink a taste of the wine first.
Taste of the wine.
Palate cleanser, of course. Always a good idea.
Don't gargle, though, right?
Well, you can. If you
Okay.
want. A little swish. Last time I was on, we were talking about a little swish to the left, a little to the right, backwards, forwards, up and down. And then swallow the wine that gets all of your taste buds involved.
Okay.
A little taste of the wine, then go with the empanada, and then back to the wine.
Modest bites.
Modest bites. We've got a lot of empanadas. A lot of empanadas.
By the way, officially it's 3 M's, but we believe they deserve a full 6 M's. So that's really delicious.
That's good.
I'm
You do
also
that, that heat comes in. That heat comes in.
Well, I also think like the green chili chicken empanada is one of my favorite jams, and it's I think it's it has become to me a staple of Austin. Like it just tastes like Austin. I know we're a breakfast taco town or whatever, but this thing, especially, I run into Cody a lot. I've met Cody, and
Cody's good to us.
You go to music festivals. Well, I think the first time I met Cody was I was very sober. I was incredibly sober at a fun fest. I had just gotten out of a van with Doug Benson, so I was very, very sober. And boy, was I hungry. And Cody was here like, try this. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in love. So
You know what I love about empanadas? Sometimes you go to a place, you get an empanada, And it's like, I didn't know air was an ingredient. Like that's
This is true.
like there's no air in there.
They're bursting with ingredients.
Here's the
Right.
thing
It's
about
wall to wall.
empanadas, and this is going to sound very Seinfeld-esque, but it is the ratio of filling to dough.
Well, thank you guys.
And it's like a
Right.
tamale. You know,
Yeah.
a tamale, you like bite the middle part out and throw the ends away because all the good stuff's in the middle. These are some of the bigger empanadas I've ever seen.
So there's a thing that I'm going to say about the wine that you paired is that generally speaking, I like I didn't drink a lot of white wine when I was younger or whatever. Actually, I'm not a guy that drank a whole lot of wine. My parents were really into it. There's a wine was around that house. Didn't drink a whole lot. And then I have buddies that travel, and they've gotten me more into drinking white wine. They've been traveling a lot through the Mediterranean, Turkey, Morocco, and they're like, oh, these for the climate, it's better, these light white wines. And I was like, man, I don't know, that's me. I'm a beer dude. It turns out this summer, it's been incredible. I love the white wine. I don't feel all bloaty, whatever. I drink these light, like this Sauvignon Blanc. But that Chardonnay with this thing,
Yeah, I'm loving
it's
that.
incredible.
Yeah, I feel like they
It's
go together.
incredible. And I didn't expect to. I thought it was good. I waited to make it second because I didn't care as much
It's
about it.
blending. It's all mixing in.
But when you taste, here's what I don't get and how it works. And this is your background, Flynn. And I think this is where, I mean, a lot of us, as guys, you go, wine. But the first time I went with somebody and they actually paired a wine with a steak, I didn't realize that the steak had one flavor. The wine had a second flavor. And there's something pretty cool about when the two of them combine, you're like, well, there's a new flavor, and it's insane. My body's never had, and that's where I think people must get really excited and then get the passion that goes. But it just happened. It happened
when
two
I did
together,
when I
was
did
like,
the
holy
Chardonnay.
crap,
It
that's
happened.
incredible.
It
That's
happened.
great. We're just getting started, and you already had a light bulb moment with your wine and food
Oh.
pairing. Wait till you see what else I got in
Okay.
store for
All
us
right.
here, because
Well,
Let's do it.
we got
I'm
some
not
pretty
even
good stuff.
a drinker, and it's like it made the wine taste better for some reason.
Yeah.
You
Like,
know,
I don't know.
again, when you nail the food and wine pairing, they should go. They should be a foil to each other. The wine should help the food should help the wine.
Okay, I like that.
And again, with my first time out, I did obviously go to your website and look at a partial ingredient list to try to figure this out as good as I can. And it looks like I got the first one pretty good.
Now you
that
did
was-
your research.
Yeah, let
Yep.
me. So if you're, how do you even get into wine? Like you told me you're from Detroit, right?
Originally, yeah.
How does a guy from Detroit get into wine?
Well, kind of like you, my dad he was a dentist, but he was very a frustrated restaurateur. He was an amazing chef, and he had a very large wine cellar. So as a little kid, I'd stand in this room and look at it's like standing in a Blockbuster trying to pick out a video,
Right.
and I was like, wow, what is all this stuff?
Yeah.
And when I was about 16, he started teaching me about wine, give me a little splash, during Christmas or whatever, and I just got bit by it. And the thing is, with wine, it's so broad and so deep of a topic. I mean, it just goes on forever. And, you get to travel around the world and eat great food and drink great wine. It's,
Yeah, and we should. I know a lot
great job.
a lot of our listeners. We tease them, but a lot of ham and egg dudes out there. Dudes covered in grease and dirt right now, and they go, "Well, wine's not for me." Look, pleasure's for everybody.
Right.
It really is, and it's nice sometimes on a weekend. Sure, absolutely, tear through a 12-pack. I'm never going to say no to that. But also, sometimes maybe your significant other. It's nice. It's nice to actually feel nice.
Cody, can I ask you, how do you prepare these at home? Like, I know the directions are obviously on the package, but are there any secrets? Because these are cooked perfectly.
No, I
It's
mean,
got the right amount of crunch and the right amount of color on it. Is there any inside baseball you can give us on
You've
how to
got
prepare these
options.
at
yeah,
home?
I mean, there are several options to heat them up. It's really very simple. They arrive to you. They're frozen, so you just the oven 350 for
350?
around 20, 22 minutes.
Keep an eye on them though, because every oven's different, right?
That's true.
People
yeah.
don't realize it's like sometimes the 350 oven will.
One of the keys to good cooking is an internal thermometer. So
It's sort of key, yeah.
I have one of those that you can.
Yeah, exactly. You always want to get it to 165 degrees internal, and
Okay.
and you're good.
And
to
they're
go.
not expensive. I think $10-15 you can get one of those thermometers that you can
know-
actually keep it in the oven, put it in the. I do that with steaks. And
Yeah,
and then the
absolutely.
wire goes outside of the oven, and it's got a magnet on the.
I use my tip. Something I learned in a restaurant is I use the tip of my tongue, and I just put my tongue
You know
into all the
exactly.
food,
Yeah.
or I'll press a plate up against my face. You know what I mean? That's what I'll do. A little bit of that too. So we're getting another wine poured out. This one's a red. Should I mix that one now with my Argentinian beef? Is that what I'm doing?
That's what we're going for.
Now,
Okay.
what is in the besides beef? What makes the beef Argentinian?
Well, the seasoning that we use, it's really herbal.
Okay.
This one isn't so spicy. And then we have the hard-boiled egg and green olive is key to the Argentine.
This is the
Hard-boiled
most
egg.
traditional flavor that or filling that we make.
Yeah.
And you can find an empanada like this all over Argentina.
All right.
Okay, talk about the wine now. What do we? This is a red.
Yeah, we're going to be moving into a little Pinot Noir right now.
Oh, that's that's what my go-to is, a Pinot Noir at a restaurant. I
You know-
like the lighter feel. I like the dryness.
Yeah, we're going to be up to about 18 wines with you guys after today. We haven't done a Pinot Noir, so I wanted to bring something like this, and I wanted to go with this particular empanada. I think it's going to be spot on. So Pinot Noir, to your point, Bob, yes, it's a little bit of a lighter red grape. Cabernet, of course, is the king of red grapes. Although there are grapes that are bigger than Cabernet, like Syrah, and Zinfandel can be made pretty bold and robust as well. But what you've got here is something medium weight. It's a little cold, but cold is better than warm. We've discussed that in the past. Very light fruit. If you smell the wine, it's probably going to come across a little bit more like raspberry than dark cherry. We're going to follow this up with something a little bit bigger, an actual Merlot. Yes, we're going to drink some Merlot. But give this a taste. And try the empanada with it, and let me know if I
That's
pit
delicious.
this one over the wall.
That's delicious. And that Argentinian beef is good. I think it's a flavor that's, I don't know, for a lot of us here in the U.S., I think it's a flavor you're not used to. Spanish-inspired flavors or two. We know there's a lot more acid and like vinegary flavors added to meats, right? You can get, if you're in Spain, Portugal, someplace like that. But it's delicious. It's a
Thank
really
you.
good flavor, and I think some people may get timid because they see Argentinian beef.
What does that mean?
And they see egg, beef. They go, I'm not quite sure. Look, here's the deal. Every one of these things is great. And if you're high, they are superb.
I can attest to that. Tim,
I gotta bring in all of my listeners and make this
I
sure
bet
that
you
they understand
Chewy's
what's going
eating
on.
one frozen.
Oh, no.
No. I definitely couldn't wait till it heated up, and I just went right at it. It was still good. Tim,
Chewy.
question from our listeners. Connor would like to know top box wine.
Oh.
You know, just don't drink
Don't
box
do
wine.
it?
Really?
Yeah,
just
don't
you
do it.
recommend nothing. Like you're in a pinch. You have to.
Yeah,
drink
you're
it
at the coast.
somehow.
There's no glass.
Do you
allowed.
remember Matilda Bay from back in the 80s?
Whoa, I
It was
don't.
it was a wine cooler, nasty thing in a box. But the best part about it was you could take it out of the box, and it was in a giant silver like melamine bag, and you could try to crotch that and get it into a concert.
See?
Or something like that.
okay.
So you understand, though, there's still some importance, so I don't think it may not even be in your, I mean, when's the last time you even had, I mean, you have access to all the best wines, so you're probably not, you don't have a bunch of Franzia stored away in the house.
No,
right?
I do not. I do not.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of what I drink, I mean, being in the business as well, you get a lot of samples, which is great. Free samples, it's like, here, try this wine. I used to be the sommelier at the Park Hyatt in Chicago, and literally every week I would be given probably 3 to 4 cases of wine.
Really?
Yeah. That you have to drink. It is a job.
You have to.
You
which I
have
love
to.
your job description. You have to.
I'm sorry that happened to you, Tim.
It's the cross I have to bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just say find wine that you like and drink it.
Absolutely. The first time I was on the show, we were discussing, does expensive wine taste better than cheap wine? And we did solve that question. And yes, if you spend a little bit more money on wine, you're probably going to get a little bit more money, or a little bit more in the bottle, excuse me. But we also proved you do not have to spend a ton of money to get something
To get a
drinkable.
good
I know
wine.
Bob.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
your
some
Snoop
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, absolutely.
19 Crimes.
$10.
A lot of
That
our-
went great.
A lot of our listeners are asking about aerators, I guess.
The aerator. Yeah.
the
I
aerator.
use those.
So
Necessary, not necessary. How does it make that much of a difference?
aeration of the wine is necessary, and you'll notice if we can not keep slamming all the wine, the longer you keep it in the glass, it starts to change.
I don't know if you realize who you're talking to.
I know,
but
I've
we're
been on
gonna
here
be
before.
we're going to slam the wine. That's just the way it works.
I know that every single one of these is coming back with me empty. But seriously, when you get oxygen on a wine, it tastes better. Just straight up, it's a chemical thing. And when you look at aging wine, basically you're oxygenating the wine extremely slowly, like at the micron level, because that exchange happens between the cork. But an aerator is basically a very quick way of decanting wine. So in the old days, you open the wine up, you pour it in a decanter, swish it around a little bit, let it sit on the counter for an hour. What the aerator does is it gets more surface area of the wine to touch more surface area of oxygen. So in a very quick way, you can oxygenate your wine and, quote, soften it up.
If you're a wine drinker, it's worth the effort, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It also depends on the wine. For instance, I mean, this is a nice little cheeky little Pinot Noir. It's not meant to be aged forever. It has a screw top. We don't have to decant it. It's meant to be drunk young. It's delicious. The next wine we're moving into, the Merlot, this is something that you could certainly decant because it's a big, robust wine.
When somebody says big wine, what does that mean?
That means when you drink it, when the wine hits your palate, it really is a mouth-filling experience.
Yeah.
And you'll notice, like this Pinot Noir, it's lean, it's got a high acid to it. It's kind of light, tutti fruity on the palate, and then it goes away. When we drink this Merlot, this is Duckhorn Merlot. It drinks kind of like a Cabernet, and I assure you, when you get this wine in your mouth, it will go great with the Empanada. But it will show you the difference between a nice, light, fruity Pinot and a blockbuster
because I
red.
think where some people get intimidated is that people who are really into wine, they're using a language, and some people get left behind. They're like, I don't understand what dry and sweet means, or But if you drink a wine, and it feels like it's pulled some, I don't know, the shine off your teeth. That's kind of a dry wine.
That is kind of a dry wine, yes.
That's tannins. It has to do with the grape it comes from, right? And
Correct.
The skin actually is where the tannin is, isn't that correct?
Yep, skins and stems.
And so there's a thing where it feels like, oh my God, did they just pull the moisture out of my mouth? And that's why they call it a dry wine. And some people like that, and some people don't. And that's okay. You don't have to drink that one. Go find one that's easier for you. But people should drink more wine. It's a nice
People
thing to
should
do.
drink more wine. It is really the world's greatest beverage. And as we were discussing food pairings, wine is meant to be sexual and
romantic.
sexy
It's romantic.
and voluptuous. You sip and savor wine. It's not like we're pounding down beers at a UT game. You want it to taste good. You want it to change. Again, you open a bottle of wine, drink it over a couple hours. Let the wine speak to you. Let the wine open up.
I like that.
Can I just say that the pastry side of the empanada is so good? I cannot wait to get. Are we gonna do a dessert one?
That's all Cody. Yes.
We do.
All right, not
got
now,
that.
not now.
In a
But
second.
I'm only hoping that there's because your pastry is amazing.
Yeah,
I also
Thank you.
brought
That
a
was the
dessert
first
wine.
thing that we really, tried to nail down when we started.
Let's do one more here, and then I think we may even talk to Dylan. We may do more camera. He may have to go. Sorry, I'm talking with my mouth full. I'm not supposed to do that,
Yeah,
am I?
same. I had to cut my
But I'm thoroughly enjoying. Hey, I want to ask you, and I really appreciate having guests here, but I want to put the focus right for a second on Chewy. Because, Chewy, you love doing stuff like this.
This is my favorite
This is your
segment we've
jam.
ever done, and we've done some great segments. For me, this is it.
But you grew up, and I want to make this point. You grew up single mom, Thrall, Texas. Mm-hmm. That's not the fanciest place in the world.
No,
right?
it's not.
And we have
Wait a minute. Wait, what's going on here? Oh, so, go ahead.
we have zero disrespect for that. I think we tried, like we talked about earlier today, the big tent for everybody. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure in your family, you weren't like this. Would have seemed kind of poncy and a bit of a put off, right? With some of the dudes that you grew up with at Pachangas and barbecues.
If it's not wine coolers and or box wine or Boone's Farm, I don't think anyone's messing with it in my area.
I used to turn up my nose at this stuff and was just like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not, The thing is it's nice to treat yourself sometimes.
You know what I've noticed at home? Because I do most of my wine drinking when I'm listening to my hi-fi.
Yeah.
It makes my hi-fi sound really good. Wine makes my music sound better.
It feels good at the end of the day.
That's why I try to get my mother, who still eats some of just the same thing. I'm like, you got to try something new. There's some stuff out here that tastes. You've never even had that flavor profile into your. And now that we have the means.
I love that now there's beer
I don't know where
on the counter.
and where have these little babies been all my life?
The
I like
Coronitas?
those,
Yeah, where do you buy a Coronita?
You like the Coronita, don't you?
Yeah, where have these been all my life?
You have to get out of Randall's, dude. I swear to God, if you would
No,
come
I'm
over,
HEB 100%, but I don't see these.
if you go to El Ranchero, where I shop, I guarantee you'll get plenty of
I'd
these.
buy a million of these.
They go into margaritas traditionally.
Yeah, the
the little margaritas they dump beer in.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Let's take a quick call. Caller, what do you got to say?
but I wanted to bring the
This
beer.
is a palate cleanser?
This is a palate cleanser,
Okay.
and you can also try it with the empanada. I mean, if you're
Can
walking
you
down the
ask
street in
him
Mexico.
about headaches and wine?
Headaches and wine.
Oh, I always wonder about the nitrates and stuff like that. Is that giving...
Sulfites, actually.
Sulfites,
Nitrates are
nitrates.
found in like salami and stuff like that.
Right.
I love putting
Pepperoni.
salami in my
Yeah,
wine,
I mean,
though.
look, if you sit down and have a glass or two or even 3 glasses of wine over the course of an evening, you should not be hungover if you're a grown adult. Now,
I like it. You're tolerance shaming. I like it.
Shame,
Now,
man.
You got that pussy?
if you go over, you could be a little bit hungover.
Right.
It manifests. I don't get headaches, but I will be praising the porcelain god. But I'm a pro. I try not to drink to the point of excess.
Right.
And again, Gatorade saves the day. If you go out have a long night, just pound a bottle of Gatorade before you go to bed, and you'll be fine.
Wives' tale that natural wine less likely to give you a hangover.
If you have a sulfite reaction, it happens to people that are mostly asthmatic. But sulfites are found in everything. I mean, a head of broccoli's got sulfites in it. So
it's kind of like that thing where somebody, I don't know, says that they have a real reaction to MSG, but his other two co-hosts know that he's full of it. It's that kind of thing.
Wait a minute.
I didn't know what. I don't know why that just came out of my mouth.
No, but sulfur dioxide is what you're talking about. SO2. It comes in a powder form. It's added to wine as
like a preservative?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's when you're talking about sulfites. That's exactly what you're talking about. It is a true chemical thing. But you're talking about 1% of 1% of the population.
Okay.
But if you ever if you're sensitive to it, you're sensitive to it.
We have gotten to the Coronita extra palate cleanser. Let's palate cleanse. Let us run a couple of spots here. Okay, we'll talk to Dylan, and but we want to make sure. Hey, Cody, it's Kristen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you guys have to get going, or can you stick around with us
We
a
got
little
all
bit?
day.
Oh, nice.
So our friends from Empanadas are here. By the way, the live stream is always brought to you by Mmpanadas.
And Renegade Truck
And
Accessories.
which we appreciate. We'll see. We might be able to run this a second segment. We'll talk to Dylan, but let us do a little business, and then we'll come back and look. It's Friday, and if some of you out there are pissed off because we're eating and drinking,
It's a boozy Friday.
then
Join us.
you're doing life incorrectly. You need to tell your boss right now that your stomach hurts, and go home and join us.
In Chicago, we just go to a Cubs game.
Oh yeah. We are back in fact, we are doing a special extended live stream.
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't sign a release for another video segment.
What release?
You know what?
Yeah.
Great idea. Bob, will you step out and we'll continue to eat the empanadas and drink the wine?
I'm not going anywhere. I want to know what's next.
If you're joining us late, no problem. Here's the deal. Our friends Cody and Kristen, who are behind Mmpanadas, have brought us a huge stack of warm empanadas, and we are digging our way through them. And our friend Tim Flynn has come in. He is the resident sommelier. Am I saying it right? Sommelier?
Sommelier, yep.
Sommelier. Boy, it's a hard word to say if you've ever read it, because it does not. You don't say it the way you read it.
Well, it's close enough. Regional pronunciation.
Sommelier.
Sommelier is not it.
Somalian.
No.
None of those things. But he's brought us wine, and we just thought
We're pairing them.
We thought, hey, we could just eat empanadas, but where's the fun in that?
Where's the fun?
We were gonna have an eating contest, honestly, to see who could eat the most empanadas in like 2 minutes.
Oh, that's what a lesser show would do.
had
These
fun
things
with
are
that.
pretty filling for how tiny they are. I mean,
Also-
it's not tiny, but I mean,
Let's be honest,
it's
too.
stuffed.
We know what happened is Bob said, "Oh, I'm on a diet. I can't do that."
Right.
Now, after he said that and we agreed to this, he went with us to Amaya's and he ate
Enchilada
a
and-
body's worth
Yeah.
of food.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know where this diet
Ooh,
begins and
what
ends.
is this? So I turned my head and then a empanada
The
appeared
soy
in front of me.
chorizo and brie.
This is what I brought the beer for.
Okay.
So it's soy chorizo. Is that the new word?
Soy chorizo,
Soy
yeah, we
chorizo?
make it
Soy
ourselves.
chorizo
Okay.
and
Make that
brie
in-house.
cheese.
I wanted them to bring this in because I think a lot of us get afraid because of the thing, like, the tofurkey dog, the tofu dogs, or whatever.
That sounds like a cuss
And frankly, they're terrible. They're not good. So in our brains, those of us who are meat eaters go, I'm not going to ever eat anybody's vegetarian food. It's terrible. I have a daughter who's a vegetarian and has been since she was like maybe 2 or 3 years old. Just did not like meat ever. Just like your mother. And so
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't. And so I've had to have a lot more of this in my house. Some of it's really bad. But one day, all I had left was the soy chorizo brie that had been sitting in the freezer, and I was like, man, I don't want that. I really don't want it. And I ate it, and I was like, holy yes.
Yeah.
This is really good. So I asked them to bring this in because I think that, people are trying to do meatless Mondays. Maybe sometimes you don't want to you want to change your diet a little bit. When you eat this, if you can tell me that there's not meat in here, I'll give you an extra $20.
All right, I haven't had this one before. This is the one I haven't had. I've had the other two.
I love this thing. I love this
before.
thing.
Now tell us about the coating. Do you still do the coating? The poking, the
Oh yeah, they're all marked.
so there's a secret code
That's right.
of the
legend
empanada,
of the
depending on how
empanada.
the holes that they put on the top of
Yeah,
it.
where the
vent
hole is
holes.
how they know what's inside of the pocket.
Right. And so what's the hole on? I only
Because
have one hole.
otherwise you have to do the Russell Stover's check, which is where you just stick your thumb
your
through the
thumb in
bottom.
And flip it over.
Yeah.
All
The
right.
soy chorizo has 3 diagonal slashes across the top.
Also, I had no idea this was what started it all. The soy rizo. Is that
It
what I
was
heard
the
you
first
say?
empanada I ever made. I was
Smells good.
living in New York for a summer, and I was above a fancy bodega, and
I was coming to visit.
she was coming to visit. I wanted to make her something, so yeah.
Hey, did you guys know was this early in the relationship? Were you coming to visit, or were you already dating?
No, that
very
was
early.
the first summer that we got together.
And you were coming to visit. You met, and he runs down because this is a nice romantic story. He runs down to the bodega. The only thing you could really see there. Because
Yeah,
a
it was-
bodega, a lot of people in Texas don't know what a bodega is, but it's a corner store,
Right.
And you never know what's going to be in one.
Right. And this one, it was a fancy corner store, really, and they had soy chorizo and brie, and it sounded good to me, and so those were the first empanadas that I made for her.
I feel like it's the first empanada I ever had.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I love about that story too, because now you're together. It's all these years later, and you've built this business together, and the success, and it all came from that bodega,
That
and
lovely
Right.
empanada.
and it all came from a dude trying to shoot his shot.
That's right.
You did great. You did
I
great.
got to ask you,
With
Chewy.
limited ingredients.
I got to ask you, Chewy, because you're a foodie.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed I'm doing something. Do you go for the crimped side on the first bite? Or do you go on the rounded,
No, you go on the folded
full
side.
side?
It really depends. Like some people are the outer edge brownie person, and some people
See,
like the center.
I want the crunch, a little more
I-
crunch on that first bite, so I go with the crimp side.
We're outer edge brownie people, so that's why I'm hitting the crimp side because I like the
right.
crust.
I don't know if you guys have any statistics on
I'm
that.
going to let you
Kristen,
know
and-
that
Chewy, a pizza crust guy? You like pizza
I
crust?
love pizza
But
crust.
see-
It's the right pizza.
because of pizza, I've noticed that I eat out all the gushy, and then
Then you want to save the.
the crunch is my dessert
Yeah.
on an empanada.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, that's the finisher
Yeah,
for me.
sometimes my favorite bite of the empanada is just that last
the
bite of the
last.
corner.
I'm sick
it's great.
because I eat according to what I want the last bite to be. So I have no rhyme or reason
Your
until
mouth is packed right now. No one can
He's
understand what you're saying.
double-fisted.
He's got 9 glasses of wine, a beer, and he's what?
And it's 9:30 in the morning.
Nah,
So yeah, so I brought the beer
it's
to go with the
10:30
chorizo.
somewhere.
Yeah, that's good.
5,
I
whatever.
like the vibe of that.
But no, I wanted to do a little
Okay.
something different. So the beer with the soy rizo should be one taste. And then we have our big bad boy wine here. This is the Duckhorn Merlot. You'll notice the color on it. I mean, we are obviously
Oh, I didn't get
looking-
one yet. Did I get one?
Yeah.
Is that?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I refilled your Pinot
Oh,
Noir
okay.
glass.
All right.
So the beer
Sorry,
with a
I'm
soy chorizo, and then also that big red wine we're
Yeah.
supposed to drink with
Yeah.
the chorizo.
So it's, kind of the same coin, two different sides. So if you're walking down the street in, say, Mexico, the empanada is like the national street food of Mexico. You get an empanada and you're probably having a little coronita. On the same note, if you're hanging out with these gourmet empanada people, you might want to serve something a little more deluxe, like a $60 bottle of Merlot.
Also, if you have your wine questions out there, 512-834-0937. We have a pro here.
A pro.
Mr. Tim Flynn. He'll take any of your
thank you.
questions out there, and as well as online. if
Wine
you're
Man
watching.
Flynn, we call him.
Now, Tim, you're essentially your background. You are a sommelier, but you also here in town you're a wine broker. Is that that the correct terminology?
Yeah, I sell wine all over the country.
Yeah.
I sell to individuals, people that are collectors. Have
But your
wine
job
cellars
is
and such.
you go out, you find the good wines. You have to build relationships with a lot of these wineries.
Yes.
And you also know you're the kind of guy you have to watch weather reports. You have to know what are going to be the good years, the bad years, stuff like that. And a lot of people are like, well, what does that mean, a good year? The rainfall and the weather really determines what's going to end up in the bottle years later.
Yes, of course. Weather is critical to growing the grapes. So you want the rain at the right time, which is kind of like Texas, where we have no rain until today. That was me, by the way. You know why? I washed my car yesterday.
Wow, perfect. Thank you for doing
Of
that.
course.
Thank you so much for doing that.
So
Yeah.
Central Texas, you're welcome.
Yeah, and and what's strange is you think, well, okay, so you have to get a lot of water. Well, grapes, you want water at certain times, but before a harvest, you want no water. You
Right.
really want that grape
really?
to
I
dry
didn't know
out of
that.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and because you want to concentrate the sugars in that grape, and and you can have an entire harvest that looks incredible, that can be ruined because you try to stretch 4 or 5 more days before the harvest. Suddenly, there's a weird storm system. It plows down rain, and you're out there trying to frantically harvest those grapes because the vines will suck up water in a hurry, and they'll destroy a crop. And that's all. And guess what? You get a crop a year for a lot of these places.
Right.
I'm thoroughly impressed, man. I mean,
Yeah, Matt.
you kind of came off as like this.
Hillbilly.
No, but
He
just
is, he is.
maybe not so well versed on wine. I mean, you just basically gave a complete dissertation of the growing season.
Don't
of
let
wine.
the trucker
That's
cap fool
beautiful.
you.
Don't try. Don't let the trucker. Yeah. Don't let these. Look, it's a college-educated tree. It just happens to have some pretty heavy white trash roots, but we grow all over it. You know.
Caller, go ahead.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
Hi,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Now, this is a wine person.
This is a
here.
wine person. This is drink a little
I
wine.
wouldn't call
then
myself a wine person.
you drink a lot of wine, and then you lay down on the sofa and go to sleep. Don't you,
Okay,
girl?
we'll call you alcoholic then. Kathy, what's your question?
I would like to know, because I'm a red wine drinker, and I need to have a little bit lower acid for my diet. So what's the best red wine
Good question.
that's got lower acid? Is it Merlot? Is it Cabernet? What is it?
Or is that even possible?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, wine's pretty high in acid as it is, but Pinot Noir, you probably want to stay away from Pinot Noir.
Yeah, that's what
I
you
would
said
say
earlier. It was, yeah.
you probably want to do something that is Merlot-y or some sort of Merlot blend and
Merlot-y.
something that's malolactic fermented.
What about a
they
Tempranillo?
do that in white wines a lot to get that.
Malolactic?
Yeah, well, and
That means it comes out of boobies.
No, the thing is,
I'll ask him that when I go to HEB for my wine. I'll ask him for that.
well, no, it's a secondary fermentation, and what it is, it's basically acid conversion. They always call it secondary fermentation. It's not true fermentation, but what it does is actually soften the acid. They do it a lot with Chardonnay, and that's where the oaky, buttery thing comes from.
Oh, okay.
But they do it in red wines too. Again, you probably got to get a little bit more intimate with your wine instead of just grabbing something off the shelf. Maybe read the label or look it up on the internet. But the other thing is, there's about 20,000 wines out there, so keep drinking one. Keep drinking them until you find one that you like.
Is it like pool? Is it
Well, I
like
can
pool
take that
water
advice.
where you can I buy a strip and put it in the wine and see what the acidity is?
Yeah, you can do the old litmus test if you want. Most wineries, particularly big ones, do have labs, and they do take. To Matt's point, those grapes come in, they check them for sugar, an acid, potential alcohol. So they are chemically analyzed to make a proper wine, what the winemaker wants to make. Because if it rains, everything gets diluted, so it changes the recipe.
Another secret is just stir a tablespoon of baking soda into your wine. That'll lower the acid. Yeah, that is. That's another secret you can throw out there for everybody.
Tums. Just keep a little Tums next to the nightstand there. You'll be
Alka-Seltzer,
fine.
yeah.
Kathy, while you're out there at HEB getting your wine, make sure you pick up some Empanadas. Lisa.
Yes, this is Lisa. Hey, I just wanted to ask a question. Does the color of the bottle affect the wine?
Ooh, that's actually
Wow.
a great question. Because
Awesome question.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes and no. So obviously there's a lot of different colors of glass out there. For instance, in Germany, all their wines are color coded. So if you have a black bottle, it's from the Rheingau. If you have a blue bottle, it's from the Nahe
Wait.
Valley.
Wow.
If you have a
That's
green
what
bottle,
that's
it's the
go-
Mosel. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But all the different bottle colors, keep various spectrum of sunlight out. So for instance, you almost always, except for Coronitas, see beer in a brown bottle.
Right.
So if you are storing your wine in sunlight, which you shouldn't do, a particular type of glass may help protect the wine a little bit better. So there is a reason it is bottled in different colored glass, but at the end of the day, you should store your wine in a cool, dry place.
Why the big dimple?
cool, moist
why
place,
the
excuse me.
big dimple on the bottom of a wine bottle?
That is
What-
called a
It's the
punt.
Punt.
But is that to cheat us out of an ounce of wine?
No. Actually, a lot of the master somms, they use it as a little thing to hold on to while you're pouring the bottle, like across
Okay.
a table. But it actually serves a purpose in sparkling wine. There's about 120 pounds per square inch of pressure in a bottle of champagne. So they have to have that
Make it stronger.
concave
Or
on the
it'll blow out
bottom,
the bottom.
or it'll blow out the bottom.
I've blown out my bottom a couple
I
times.
know you have.
Yeah.
But there is
Eating a lot
one
of
bottle.
empanadas and drinking a lot of wine before 10 a.m. We'll see what happens.
There's one champagne bottle that's flat, and it's Cristal, because
Okay.
the glass is actually crystal, so it's stronger than glass, so
all
they can
right.
get away with the flat
Wow.
bottom. So
See,
there's some
I'm
wine
learning
trivia
all
for you.
kinds of stuff today.
Okay, how's the Merlot?
It's delicious. It's
I'm not
absolutely
gonna
delicious.
complain. I'm not
It's
gonna
absolutely
complain.
delicious, and I'm actually surprised because for a while Merlot was very hip, and then it got a bad name mainly because
that
of one
movie.
movie.
One
That
movie.
One movie.
And
that
Sideways.
But what's crazy about Sideways is I think it actually turned a lot of people who weren't into wine onto the idea of wine because it's a pretty fun movie.
Right,
Right?
but
It was really
Paul
well done.
Giamatti goes at Merlot.
I don't want it. No more effing Merlot,
Merlot,
right?
All right,
And-
you guys want to know the deep, dark secret of that movie?
Would love to because I'm wondering too for your whole industry. How did you see that movie? Because we saw it as
I loved it.
There was
It killed the Merlot market, but I love the movie.
It's bizarre how it
Yeah.
literally
I
changed
drank
all
less
of
Merlot after that.
it
I
changed
did.
America's patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
used
You
to
cou-
see Merlot everywhere in every
Everywhere.
We
store.
could not stock Pinot Noir fast enough. It didn't matter if it was good, bad, $2 a bottle, 200 a bottle. We could not keep Pinot Noir in stock.
But before that, you couldn't find Pinot Noir places. It
True.
was Cabernet. And then people were like, Cabernet, I don't really like. Merlot is my red wine. It's easier to drink. And then Merlot disappeared.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre how one movie that was really a low-budget movie, it's not like
Yeah,
a
And no
Basically
internet,
independent.
no internet back then.
changed an entire industry. Mm-hmm. How many people in your industry wanted to go and stab Paul Giamatti?
Everybody. But here, I'll tell you the true ending of that movie.
Yeah.
So he's all anti-Merlot. Well, in Bordeaux, they grow a lot of Merlot.
And that's in France.
That's in France. And in Saint-Emilion, for instance, they have some very, very big wines on the right bank. Things like Petrus, things like Cheval Blanc. These are epic, like $1,000 bottles of wine, but they're Merlot. So at the end of the movie, Paul Giamatti's character, they get done with the weekend. He goes to a diner and drinks Cheval Blanc, and he claims it to be the best wine he's ever had in his life.
But it's a Merlot.
But it's a Merlot, so he goes home and kills himself.
Wait, what?
No shit. That's the real.
I had to jump you because you had a real moment. I would have allowed it. You had a real moment. I should have allowed it.
Yeah.
I should have allowed it.
It was perfect.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the actual end of the movie.
Well, I'm being extra careful because technically we'll just say that there's a
I'm
little
sorry.
bit. No. You don't ever apologize. You've been way too nice to us. There's a little bit of an actual thing that you're not supposed to. In this country, you're not supposed to drink on air, but you know what? The government can eat ass.
We're tasting.
We're having a good time.
I want to get to
Prove
this
it's
dessert.
wine.
We're
It's just grape juice.
Yes, exactly. We're teaching the people.
We're tasting. Caller that has an LLC attached to his phone.
We got
What's
one
up,
more
man?
Empanada to.
Oh, wait,
do.
I got to get the other wine going for that one.
Yeah, because I've been
Well,
waiting
let
for
me
the
just
dessert one.
hang on real quick. We're going to go to the caller, and I'm going to let you know that we're over on time. So we will continue to stream. I don't know what we'll do. It doesn't matter. We are going to have fun in here, and the rest of you all.
Never been a short wine taste.
That sounds like a man that's had some wine. Caller, go ahead and ask your question. I'll relay it. You still there, bud?
Talking to me?
Yeah,
that's
we're
you.
talking to
Yes,
you.
you.
All right. Yeah, I had a question. I'm a wine guy, and I prefer wine out of a box because you can get four bottles for the price of one.
That's what they
essentially.
say, but
Well, or at least more than one. You know, it's $20 for we'll call it 2 or 3 bottles. But
Sure.
I've heard that out of a bottle. You know, typically they say it's better, but I've heard that that's a myth. Is there a difference? Is out of a bottle better than a box, or vice versa, quality-wise, or does it matter?
Yeah, I can guarantee you, absolutely positively guarantee you, that any wine out of a bottle is going to beat any wine out of a box.
But it's probably, if I could say, it's probably not always because it's in a bottle or it's in a box. But a vintner is going to look. It costs money to put wine in a bottle and then ship it. It's more expensive. So they're putting their lesser product because they can move it in a box. Do you know what I mean, man?
Well, also, you know, it's a financial thing. You know, there's beers out there that are, you know, PBR. You know, you drink a lot of it. Then there's microbrews. They, you know, one is $6 a 12-pack. One is $6 a bottle. Same thing with wine. You know, boxed wine is meant to be, it's fermented grape juice. That's it. It's the alcoholic version of grape juice.
And you got to figure out: are you drinking because you want to get drunk, or you want to drink for an evening?
Taste,
and I say, if you're in the backyard with your buddies and you're partying down, go get that box. If you have some friends over for dinner, splurge. Because
the other thing about wine, you know, when you're drinking a great bottle of wine with a great steak, you are drinking it as a flavor enhancement. The buzz is just a bonus. You know, and you don't sit down and drink, well, we've done it in the past, but you don't sit down and drink like $500 bottles of wine at a crack.
Right.
You know, you have a little warm-up wine, then maybe something really nice with the entree, you know, and then start drinking for effect later.
But do look for our brand new T-shirts. The buzz is just a bonus. We'll be putting those out for sure.
All right, am I getting this? First of all, this pineapple and cinnamon panada is to die for.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
My mom used to make something similar. We didn't call it an empanada, but she did some kind of pineapple turnover thing. I know. What wine is this? Real quick before we have to go. But
this is a Sauterne. This is a late harvest wine from Bordeaux. It's basically late harvest Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon, and it is sweet.
I'm getting a
and
licorice
delicious.
vibe off of it. No, what is that?
It smells good.
I'm trying to keep Bob on
More
task,
like
but
a honey.
Look how hammered he's
caramelized
gotten
pineapple.
already. While we are tasting this, let me wrap up and say thank you very much not just for bringing us the empanadas and making the city better with the empanadas. There used to be a place here 30 years ago called Empanada Parlor, and I would ride my bicycle downtown. They were on 2nd Street. The building doesn't even exist anymore because I loved having them. You guys have brought that back. You made the city better. I love the empanadas, and I love the fact that you not only sponsor the show, but you're sponsoring our live stream, and I appreciate it. And that's kind of why I'm giving you extra love, you know, and we wanted to have you in, and we appreciate you all very much. When you find the empanadas out there in the HEB, grab them. I promise you, if you've never had one or you don't want to take a chance, you're like, I've never had an empanada. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it means. grab them. You're going to love them. It's a great treat to have around the house, and it's really fast from freezer to face. Also,
college kids, you might enjoy these if you got a toaster oven.
Absolutely. Also, Tim Flynn, thank you very much for coming in there and bringing us the wine.
I learned so much today.
We learned, and I love this. I love because I know we have listeners all across the spectrum here, like we talk about community, and I know that we have people who are definitely wine people who aren't, and maybe are intimidated. And I love that you talk about it in a really impassioned way because I think it gets people excited. They'll try something new. Maybe they'll have a bottle of wine this weekend for the first time, and they go, you know what? This was. I don't feel weak. I feel great. I feel great. We're going a little long, and we apologize. We got to run quick to the spots here. We're going to drop a song. I'll go have a meeting with management.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on, gentlemen.
Thanks.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, everybody.
And I love the Mmmpanada people.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, have a good weekend.
Hear those notifications? That's small. Mornings with Matt and Bob in studio is brought to you by Empanadas. Available in the frozen food aisle of your favorite grocery store. And Renegade Truck Accessories, your source for truck caps, bed covers, lift kits, window tinting, and custom services.